Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Move the Stairs podcast, where we talk to CBD business owners every Friday. And if you're listening to us later, we will drop this. We're live on Facebook and LinkedIn now, but we're going to drop this later. And that was my phone, which I didn't turn off, which is perfect timing, right? Don't you know that's going to go off as soon as we start? Anyway, I can't believe we're at episode 41 of the Move the Stairs podcast, which is great. And we're recording on June 11th. 2021. And we are so happy that you've taken the time out of your day to join us in this conversation because, each week we share some of your brand protection PR strategies for CBD businesses so that you can tackle your biggest public relations challenges.
That's right. And today we are talking to CBD business owners about how sometimes it can feel uncomfortable and concerning when you are dealing with the media. And today we are so lucky to be joined by Kristen Nichols of Hemp Industry Daily. And by the end of this episode, you will be able to feel good and comfortable reaching out and developing relationships with reporters, which of course is a huge part of building a brand protection PR strategy.
So first, like we always do, we'll break this down into our mini conversations. You're going to learn how to research what reporters want and what they need, followed by strategies for engaging with reporters. A lot of these folks you'll have never met before, so that's going to be very important. Then finally, we're going to deep dive, and this is interesting, into what trends reporters are looking for now and what you can expect for Q3 and Q4 of 2021.
And if you're joining us live, just like Diane said, please jump into the conversation and answer this question. Tell me, how comfortable are you at reaching out to reporters? I'd love to get your experience and comments on that. And if you're joining us later, we would love it if you would post your questions or your comments, and we love to chat about those in the following week's chat.
So also, we have our free downloadable one sheet. We can't forget that. And this is an awesome one of my favorites, because it involves my favorite social media platform, Twitter. You're going to want this. It's the 10 steps to building reporter relationships on Twitter. Make sure you grab that for free on our website. All you'll have to do is search movethestairs.com. We'll push this blog post live for Friday afternoon, so you can get that immediately once the episode ends.
All right. Should we get started?
Let's do it. We are so thrilled. I'm jumping the gun. I'm stepping on top of you. Hey, Kristen Nichols from Hemp Industry Daily.
Hi. How are you guys?
Have you? Thank you for coming. So we want to just jump right into this, if you don't mind, because I know our CBD business owners are really anxious to hear your take on a lot of these questions. So I'm just going to say, what's the first one? Do you find that people you interview, are a bit apprehensive when you call them? It's like, oh, what does she really want here? Is that the normal reaction, or do you get a different reaction?
No, I think people do it, and it's no different than any other industry. I've been a reporter for a long time. It doesn't matter. It's not particular to cannabis, but I will say, when it comes to CBD and hemp, relative to other industries or in government, I covered government for a long time. Or regular farmers, there's a feeling of, are you a friend, or are you, is this a takedown? And so I think that's okay to feel anxious, because a good reporter, it's a part of the job to make sure folks know what you're working on, when you're working on, where this is going to go. I think ask all the questions. What is this for? What are you quoting? What do you need? And so I would say, to start the conversation, absolutely ask everything that makes you feel comfortable talking. And if it's a journalist you've never talked to before, I would be really, naturally not like critical or scared, but I would be, go real slow and understand that, we're starting a relationship. I hope we talk more. But I would really ask a lot of questions about why they're calling and what they need.
That is such great advice. And we talk about that all the time, just like set the stage for, okay, What do you need? What's your deadline? What are you looking for? What kind of quote do you need? And then you can kind of gauge, more about the information that the reporter's looking for. And I think that this really sets up an important point. we tell clients that when a reporter calls, good, bad, nervous, excited, whatever the situation, every call from a reporter is an opportunity. What do you think about that statement?
Of course, I think it's an opportunity. Reporters know, I think, that it's uncomfortable for folks. And so I wouldn't, when I say don't be scared, like reporter should anticipate, like, this person is like, why are you calling me? What happened? What did I do? Kind of feeling. And that's completely normal. But I think that you guys are completely right. It's an opportunity to get your message out. Think of it like free advertising just fell in your lap. Someone wants to put the name of your company out for more people to learn about you. And that's a big opportunity to share the good news about what it is you're doing.
Now, Kristen, I'm really curious about this. How often do you end up with either a different story angle or another story angle when you're interviewing a CBD business owner?
That's a good point too. All the time. I've been writing a lot recently about Delta 8 THC, which is kind of to bore everyone, it's an isomer of THC, that Delta 9 that we all know. It can be easily made from CBD. So some folks who have excess CBD they can't move are converting it. Anyway, the common perception in longtime old hippie cannabis culture is that this is crap, it's terrible. This is a short-lived trend, and these shysters are just trying to offload this crap on the market. So, to keep it long story short, I was talking to a longtime hemp producer, trying to find out what is this stuff, how is it made, and he just completely changed my mind about this entire product, because he didn't talk about what it does, what it is. He talked about what it does for people. He talked about customers and patients and people that he works with and how it affected them. And it really changed my position or my mind about how to approach writing about this. Is it a threat to the CBD or THC industries, or is it a new opportunity? So I would say absolutely, a good reporter really listens to what you're saying. And I don't think it's uncommon at all to change how you approach a story when you hear a different side than maybe you expected.
And that happens sometimes where something negative happens in the industry. It's one of the things that we do with brand protection PRs. We're always looking to see what's the next shoe that could possibly drop so you can be ready for it. But when you're out there and you become a thought leader, and I'm in your Rolodex, and Rolodex, how old am I?
Rolodex,
you boomers out there, Rolodex to the world. Anyway, I had 3 of them at one point. But anyway, I'm there and I'm thinking, who can I call that's fast? Because there's so few reporters that are out there. Who's going to give me a good quote, that type of thing. But I'm going to call them on the negative stories too. So can you think of a time when there was a really negative story where you talked to a business owner and they were either like you just said with the Delta 8, that the reporter changed your perspective, but also what if it's on a particular company and I always think it's a way to get your perspective into the story from your company, because there may be reasons why you did what you did that wouldn't just jump out at somebody unless they really understood your story. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Not just Delta 8. Also, last year, this is pre-pandemic, so it feels like a million years ago, there was a vape crisis. If you guys remember, people were using vape, not just THC or CBD vapes, also nicotine vapes. Started having kids go to the hospital with lung illnesses. This is the kind of thing that if you were a vape manufacturer was a really urgent. Every little paper was writing, when kids in their town showed up at the hospital and were scared, parents were scared. And where I would say is what I thought was so again, to get the perspective of what a business owner faces is to absolutely show empathy and that you're as concerned about, and I think it's genuine. I think no one was as freaked about the vape crisis as people making vapes. They wanted to know, what is it? What can we do? Where are we getting our components? What are the elements? Is it just vaping broadly? or is it something in the vapes? And this is where your opportunity is to share. And what I came away with is that, like, we would love to know, we wish the government would help us find out what is making kids sick in these vapes. And that really can, I think, really change the narrative a little bit, as instead of being, oh, it's these disreputable, manufacturers don't care if kids are going to hospitals, to show how you're part of the solution and companies really are part of the solution when there's a crisis like this.
That's a great example. Fantastic example.
Yeah, thank you. And so it's your turn now. In the comments section, we want you to tell us what there goes the motorcycle right by my window. Sorry. What has your experience been with the media? And if you haven't had an experience with the media, we want to know why you think that is. Are you nervous? Are you scared? Do you not know how to reach out? What is that thing that is holding you back from communicating and having a conversation with a member of the media?
And hint, hint, the last thing Sarah said, not sure how to reach out. We have our free downloadable one sheet, the 10 steps to building reporter relationships on Twitter. You'll find that on movethestairs.com.
And always, we go back to, if you're new to the podcast, what the heck does move the stairs mean? Remember, it means take what life gives you and make the most out of it. I had to move the stairs literally to the other side of a podium so that I would have the first interview, because my station, when I was in television news as a journalist, was on the wrong side of the podium. And when I went into the room, I saw that the stairs led to my competition. So I unscrewed them and I moved them. You need to move the stairs with everything that goes on in this world, from COVID to cultural issues to vaping to whatever industry trends are. You have to move the stairs. And just remember, if you can take what life gives you and really focus in on it and start taking those baby steps, it's kind of, I'm going to mix my metaphors, but it's kind of like a snowball rolling downhill. You're going to learn more and more about what you can do and what you can say and how you can make the most of any situation for your business. So remember, move the stairs with everything that you've got.
Yep. So let's move on to our second topic, and that is how CBD business owners can engage with the media. And Kristen, you're going to have so much background here to share with people. So we tell our clients how important it is to reach out and help reporters by engaging on social media and even providing additional information about stories or things that reporters might not have heard about before they ever pitch a story. So I want you to talk about what is so useful about that approach of just being helpful to reporters without pitching them.
I can't talk highly enough about all of your advice and your tips about engaging reporters. Let them know you read them, you saw what they did, and share it on your social. Everybody's super vain and really cares about people retweeting and clicking on sharing. That definitely gets attention. And reporters like feedback about interesting things. I didn't know about this, I didn't see that. And this is why it's so clutch to engage, I think, directly with journalists. Every single editor out there is constantly yelling at the reporters to find the real people. Okay, we don't want to write, say it's vape crisis, say it's any police brutality, whatever the topic is. They don't want to hear from academics and government officials. They want the elusive real people, man on the street. And if you're a CBD business owner, that is you and your clients and the people that work for you. How you are affected by the news is exactly what journalists are looking for. It doesn't have to be that you have some brand new brilliant take. It can just be, hey, I saw this and that happened to me, or this is happening on my farm, or in my CBD store, we had to close down because of this. It's been a headache. That's exactly what journalists are looking for, real people.
I think that's a really great point because, Kristen, so many people may think that I do have to have this outstanding take that nobody has thought of before. And it's just simply not the case. So when you're going back to look at, some of these folks, obviously you do your research on CBD companies. So what makes you start to look at a CBD business owner as an expert or a thought leader, which is one thing that we tout as, for brand protection and building brand protection, is making sure that you're that go-to expert. So how do you go back and do you look at comments? Do you look at other industry stories that have talked to these folks? I mean, how do you make that distinction?
I would say, yes, back to reporters being vain, we are also very competitive and read each other all the time. So what you do is find someone who's been quoted, hope they have a easy to Google name. Their name isn't Joe Smith. And Google them, find them, and reach out. And when I say the go-tos are people who answer the telephone, are usually chatty and friendly, and don't have 10 staff members you have to go through to get to them. But that's so that's to the point of like that. It's more helpful to not be, the CEO that has 10 staffers around, to be the elusive real person that you're looking for, who answers the phone and can help. And read the news, I would say. If you're calling, an auto dealership to talk about this thing that's been happening to cars, and it would help to know kind of what that is. But that's just kind of broad advice about getting yourself quoted in general news stories, which can be different than where you want to be quoted.
Is it as important for them to tweet you as it is for them to pick up a phone and call you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because like I said, everybody's like really looking for the blue checks, and to feel important, and that people are, because this is why it's so flattering, is because if you are in this space, you are doing this work, you are a thought leader. And so if you're sharing it, then that means something more than, I print a newspaper so I can put my own name, So I do think it means a lot to reporters.
I think too, getting back to a reporter right away, if you miss that call, our rule is 15 minutes. In fact, Jordan set up an entire interview in 15 minutes yesterday that came out of the blue with one of our clients. It was that fast, but the client is trained and understands fast. These people are on deadline, and our job is to make their job as easy as possible.
Oh yeah, fast is better than good or insightful.
That's that's the quote of the day so far.
So how important is it that these people are quotable, and what do you listen for in an interview?
I think it's hard. This is hard to coach. It's hard to feel comfortable and talk like this real person. So I think people are looking for, honest reactions, speaking in short sentences. I use transcription software a lot. I know a lot of reporters do, and I'm the worst. Going back to listen to how people talk, people start sentences and then
right
kind of wander off into, and so but again, that's just hard to work on, to speak in short sentences. And no one is worse at this than politicians. So there was a former governor of Colorado. He's in the Senate, John Hickenlooper, unquotable, because he did not speak he could not say subject, verb. He would start talking, and he's a good speaker. He's a really good speaker. Sounds like he's saying something, and then you try to make that. Anyway, so this is flipped to say, I don't know if you really need to work on it, but I would say one other thing that I think maybe people don't understand sometimes about the press is you can't always ask, send me my quote, read me back my quotes before you use them. You can't say, send me your story, or let me see what this is going to be. But you have absolutely the right. You control what is between quotes with your name on it. So ask them to say, if you think you might be quoted and you're not sure that came off right, can you read that back to me? And can I take to that? I think reporters, they want better quotes too. So feel free to say, can I call you back in 5 minutes? And that's totally fine, I think.
Absolutely.
Can I ask you just a really quick question about, because I think you've done a fabulous job of saying what is useful. I would like to know what's a turnoff for you as a reporter. Like, what would a CBD business owner do that you were just like, I don't want to talk to that person again?
Well, it's always frustrating when people say, "Oh, I like you. I don't like, all the other journalists." It's kind of like, okay, it's like when someone says, "Oh, CBD is great." It's not like it's all this. You don't make this other crap, So you don't not insult other journalists, even though we're competitive and all that kind of thing. And this is really particular to me, and this is weird because you see it a lot in the press. This sounds really hard-hearted, but I always am like, don't give me the sick grandma story. Everybody has a sick grandma. I feel like there's a pressure in CBD, cannabis, and THC to explain why I'm this. I never thought I would be doing this, but then I had a sick grandma, but then I got cancer. And that's really, I don't want to be, I realize I'm unempathetic, but I'm in this space all the time where I'm like, that's really I don't need an explanation for why you're in CBD or why you chose this and why you consider it real wellness or real medicine. I think sometimes CBD operators have a, not inferiority, but feel like they're not taken seriously as real medicine. And so, but at the same time, maybe that approach is useful if you're talking to general interest operation versus where I am, which is like, I talk to, I'm all pot all day. So, I feel like, oh, I don't need to hear it.
That's great.
That is great advice.
Mm-hmm.
So as we close out this topic, I want to ask our listeners, our viewers, are you a thought leader? And what are you doing to position yourself as a thought leader in the CBD industry? Because we would love to hear what your thoughts are on that.
And be sure to join us next week because we have a fascinating conversation coming up with folks heading back to work. We've got the 4th of July holiday coming up. Pets and CBD. This is going to be really interesting, and we're working on an expert for this to join us on the conversation, but you're not going to want to miss that podcast or the live record, so join us next Friday.
That's great. I'm looking forward to that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our third topic. This is probably the most important for brand protection PR for your CBD company, which is we always talk about looking at trends, being prepared for what's coming in the future. And so we're reading the trades, we're following legislation so that we're constantly prepared. If you go to my LinkedIn page or to MNC's LinkedIn page today, you're going to see new labeling guidelines that just came out for Colorado. There's all kinds of, there are so many moving parts to this. It's unbelievable. But Kristen, what do you think are going to be the most important trends? And I'm going to ask for now, for Q3 and for Q4. So for the rest of the year, if you could give us a couple of them that CBD owners should be prepared for and prepared to talk about.
Cool. But before I do, I just want to pile on and say the label guidance you have is Exhibit A for what you can do. I'm a reporter. It's hard to pitch a story like, oh, the label rules are changing in Colorado. It's very easy to pitch, hey, this company is going to have to change their manufacturing process. It's going to cost them all this money. That's what reporters are desperate for. What this means to real people. So I would keep on that. Back to like the trends we're looking at going up into this quarter, into Q3, and into next year. It's a highly regulated industry. So, of course, watch the regulations. We're seeing state after state pop out with specific Delta 8 and Delta 10 THC changes. So think about how that affects your company. If you're in that space or you're not, that's going to be something that we're going to keep writing about. Also, I think, don't forget, in my opinion, there is still an importance of legacy media. The reason you're seeing Delta 8 stories everywhere you turn is because the New York Times wrote a big thing about it a couple months ago. That makes every local news editor everywhere go, hey, we should do something about, this thing that they just wrote about. back to it being a highly regulated industry. It's closely tied, there's no way around it, to the THC space. So I would be watching for trends in Congress. I am skeptical that any significant cannabis legislation is going to move this summer. So back to the share your real person experience. Are you frustrated that you still don't have banking access? Are you frustrated that you've called and said, why can't we do this or that, or transport against state lines, or why doesn't the FDA do anything? We still don't have an FDA chairman. But we have a new president that took effect and took office in January. We still don't know who's running the FDA for good. That really affects the CBD space intensely. So we will be watching that. They have given us no indication. And I understand pandemic response and vaccine, job number one, probably going to be, I would say, through the year, maybe into next year. But that definitely is something to watch. Another thing that I like to remind folks that we all talk about the Farm Bill, which in 2018 kind of opened the doors for the CBD industry. Well, there's going to be another Farm Bill. There's a Farm Bill every 5 years. So that's looking forward to that, not just in Q3, but really going into next year. I would say, what are the elements there? What does your business need to see from Congress to open up opportunities in CBD? And can that be a part of that Farm Bill? That's definitely something to watch. And of course, there's an election every 2 years. Keep in mind about what you think of your member of Congress or how that affects your business. Reporters are always looking for updates and trends about what you think about your local officials.
Oh, those are great ideas. So if a CBD business owner wants to get in front of all these trends that you have mentioned, what can they provide you, or how should they reach out now or soon so that you know that they are a good potential interview in the future on these trends?
Again, I just say be available and answer the phone when reporters
Do you
call.
hear that?
It's
people?
hard to get
Answer the phone.
It's a reporter's job, though. This is not really helpful. It's a reporter's job to follow the news and to reach out to you, to find you where you are. And you can't change your name to something that's very easy to Google. But I would say, other than that, just be responsive, be around, there's people that oh, my editor just called and I need right now I'm doing a story about wage pressure, right? There's a hiring binge. McDonald's is handing out iPhones. Everybody's having a hard time finding help. And I know, I know so-and-so. They were just on LinkedIn 2 seconds ago. So when reporters sit in front of computers and in front of the telephone all day, and it's like the easy lift, doesn't have to be the smartest guy in the room, who's around, and I know is going to be chatty and helpful. And there's no way around it. Reporters always looking for new voices of color, not the same old white guy that they quote 100 times. Again, you can't do anything about it, but it helps to be a new voice that they haven't heard from.
Speaking of which, Kristen, do you have an example when a CBD business owner or somebody who was a spokesperson for a CBD business was able to position themselves when the time was right, and that person, you were just like, you fit the mold, you are conversational, you're informational, you give me what I need as a reporter, and then they became one of your kind of go-to people when you needed comment?
Sure. Yeah, all the time. It helps, again, to feel comfortable and to be available. I can really point to, there's so many, as you guys probably know, there's so many industry groups that purport to be the voice of whatever, especially in hemp cannabis. There's so many different groups, but not all of them are easy to find or real chat. So I'd say align yourself with the chatty group, be an example, and let them know, if a reporter ever calls looking for someone who is in XYZ state or who is facing this challenge, I'm your guy. Let them know that I'm here and open to talking.
I love that. I think that's so true. And it is important that as an old assignment editor who was constantly looking for 4 and 5, 6, sometimes 10 interviews a day, it's important to have people who have called you and developed a relationship with you, and that they're going to be there and that they get you. They get what you need. So what do you think out there, CBD business owners? Let us know in the comments how you'll use this brand protection strategy, because It is so important for you to be out there, to have a reputation. Kristen, your example of vaping is perfect. If you're already out there and you have a reputation, that trust bottle it's filled already. And so people are going to give you the benefit of the doubt and they want to hear from you because you are a thought leader and an expert, and it's clear that you care about the industry. And then you can get that perspective through. So that's where brand protection PR really comes in, is really, really important.
And to recap today's conversation really quickly, Kristen Nichols has done such a fabulous job of helping all of you out there, CBD business owners, understand how to research what reporters want and need, some strategies for engaging those reporters, and what trends reporters are looking at now for Q3 and Q4, and how you can get ahead and get in front of those reporters for Q3, Q4. And Kristen, thank you so very much for your time today, for all of your expertise. I just am thrilled, and I know that people will get so much information out of this podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. You guys do great work, and I hope to talk soon.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. And thanks so much for joining us this week. And let us know how we can help you with your CBD brand protection PR needs. We're here for you. Just drop us a line, let us know, and we'll see you next week.